Okay. And roll call.
Here.
Jamie,
Here.
Tyson,
Here.
Gibson, Panyard,
Here.
Gosling.
Here.
Okay. Any comments on the agenda today? Okay. At this time, I hope everyone has had a chance to review the full document that was sent to us on the septic draft ordinance. And any comments from, good morning, Sue. As you reviewed it, do you have any comments for the septic committee?
Do have one. One of your objectives was to try to identify opportunities to minimize costs of homeowners. And I don't see anything in there yet as far as that is concerned.
Wait, and
Sure.
that was. Yeah. I think it's topic that they can identify very early on about, the discussion was these improvements or adjustments or an ordinance that's gonna mandate big changes, is gonna be an issue. And it was something that was talked about way back in the beginning. And sort of left as a marker. I don't think anything's, I'm sure nothing has been done about identifying what those funds might come from and what they might be, but it still doesn't mean it should just go away.
We do have hopefully Catherine Voigt to speak with us next on the agenda about resources that could be for HOHL wide, but whether it'll be specifically to like septic or not, I don't know, but we could ask.
Okay.
She is.
Really knowing what the scope of it is either until we get some of the data that we're collecting now, and then we'll have a better idea what condition what folks are in for.
Here yet. I have a couple questions.
Okay.
So the first section 4, it says definitions will be provided. That I assume, because that could be really the part that people focus on, are those definitions that we're talking about.
At our last meeting before last, we went through a list of things that are coming up, and Terry Finos took that topic away, and she was working on gathering, going through the ordinance, picking up those up, and she we get a document. I hope you'll have that tomorrow.
Okay. Moving on, I just had written down a number of questions. In section 6, it says that all owners must connect their wastewater to previous public sewer located adjacent or otherwise available. Is that clear enough for people? I mean, I'm not somebody near a sewer, but is that language specifically is that too vague, or is that enforceable? Is there something about distance or availability or capacity? I just want to try and get some of these ironed out while I'm thinking about them.
Yeah, I think that particular language probably just got transferred over from some other ordinance, my guess is, but obviously we don't have a sewer system. I'm not going to have one anytime soon. And so I think it was just captured in there as if indeed there is, in the event there is a sewer system, that you need to hook up to that to be comply with it.
Like for commercial areas, along.
Yeah, and even at that, we don't have anything at this point.
Yeah, I'm coming into this blind, so I wasn't sure. And then in section 7, is there a timeline? It says that in part B that the Central Michigan DHD requires registration for all of this. I don't know, is there I don't know, maybe I'm getting too granular here, but I had just questions. This is my first foray into this.
Yeah. I'd have to read the whole, should I read what is it? It
It's
says they want,
Printing and registration. Okay, so it says requires registration for all. It means receiving approval either during construction or through inspection specified by, so is this something that the owner initiates or is it automatic with the inspection? I was just thinking about timeline, how it all comes through.
yeah, in new construction, the health department needs to have your approval through through our building department here. They need to have an inspection report on file with the health department for new construction. And I think if it go a little further or elsewhere in the ordinance, I think it'll probably detail that a little bit more, but that's for new construction. If there's a bit of a vague area in my mind, if it's a remodel, if you're going to put a bedroom on or whatever, what are you indeed responsible for? And that's something that has come up, and I'm not sure apparently it's not completely clear if you're bringing it up. So
That to me is like one of the like nuts and bolts parts. I mean, I have a lot of things written down here. And I don't know, is this the time to walk through some of these, or was this something that I could talk to somebody on the?
It is the time because we will be then turning it back to Jim for the committee tomorrow to look through, and then we're going to be passing it on to the board. So
So that's one area where I guess, that's kind of like where the rubber meets the road. Yeah, you're gonna go.
let me
get your
grab
stuff.
something right.
This is a good time.
Okay, all right. And I absolutely appreciate and respect all the work that the septic committee put into this. And I'm sort of the person that's looking at it from brand new eyes and without that background, but with a background in science. So
Jim, do you need a pad of paper?
He's looking for his copy.
there you go. He's writing things down. So that was section 7,
Section 7.
part B.
Yep.
The timeline, is it owner initiated? Is it automatic with the inspection?
Well, it says no person shall construct, install, or alter in any without first obtaining a permit. So that, I think that the burden is on
On the Central Michigan DHD and on the builder.
the person doing it.
Yeah.
I would say, wouldn't you, Jim?
Yeah. One thing that when I read this earlier on, this said no person shall construct, install. And I took that as something to do with your house, but any kind of construction you're doing with the septic system is what they're talking about. New permits, if you have to do something that alters your septic system, you need to have a permit from the health department. So don't confuse that with the construction of a building permit. They're two sort of different things, but
Okay.
but that could use some cleaning up. We'll make it.
Just, I mean, I think that the more clarity we have, the stronger, when people push back.
Sure.
And it's clarity for them to understand and give them a target to shoot for.
Yeah, also the part A only has to do with any alterations. Part B still says registration is required.
Requires
again,
registration.
What's the timeline on that, I guess?
Exactly, right.
Because we obviously are talking about everyone here.
Timeline. Okay.
And one of the,
But it says there without first obtaining a permit. So the permit is before the construction.
That's in part A, correct.
Yeah. But that is, don't forget, that's construction of your septic system,
Mhm.
not construction.
No,
of your
no,
house. So,
that's- yeah.
So-
That was under A.
and that should be cleared up. So
No, well, it's I would say pretty clear.
That one's part A. I
A,
think
part
is
A,
clear.
without first obtaining a permit means you gotta go get a permit.
Of that particular system, if you're actually in it,
Alter. of
focusing
any-
on that, on the septic,
Install or alter.
right? And then you brought up about adding to your home or expanding your home. Um, Yeah, and that's in there to the level that you feel comfortable, that we've
I-
about expanding your home, et cetera. I want to make sure that I'm inspection prior to
It-
transfer, septic,
With referring to making a system larger if your home is larger, is that what?
or building your home larger. where's the requirement to make-
Grow too.
Right.
Okay,
That's the part that
that's
I'm,
what you're saying.
yes, thank you very much. Yeah. All right.
Right now, it's pretty easy to, I believe it's pretty easy to fall through the crack that if you're going to add on a bedroom and your septic tank's pretty close and they just kind of let it go, but that's where that correlation needs to be, verified that it is indeed, the health department is okay with exactly what you're doing with the addition of another bedroom or another bathroom, another bedroom specifically, but capacity for more people.
And so the timeline is in place for that to, or as far as like the procedures for that? I mean, if you're brand new building, that seems to be pretty easy. You're doing a brand new building, it's very clear. What we are struggling with is when people are expanding, is there enough guidance and teeth in this for those murky gray areas? And, on a first run through, that's why I'm asking a
Okay.
question.
I'm starting to see what she's saying. It says install or alter, but you might be, well, altering would be adding on to it though.
But if we don't define it
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
this
see.
is the point at which you put in those clarifying
Mhm.
comments and the legal teeth. And again, it's only fair to give that information in advance so
Mhm.
that people can meet that, but then it's also giving the township the tools to
Enforce it.
enforce it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think that's that line to walk, and that's where most of my questions focus on. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have to err on the side of redundancy here
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
or boredom.
Tedium, it's
Yeah,
okay.
tedium.
Is part of the job. Skipping over, let me see where I was here. Into section 10, when we're talking about property transfer or building permit, maybe this is where it kind of rubber meets the road. And talking about sellers versus buyers' responsibilities. Is there something in here that sort of states that the failure to disclose doesn't exempt the owner from compliance? I don't know if that's important to add or if that's just written in here. Oh, I didn't know, the owner, or
Isn't that part of regular real estate law?
that might be. I mean, this,
Sellers shall be responsible to ensure compliance with paragraph A of this section before property transfer.
okay, and
Is
where's
that,
that?
that's the last line in item D.
Okay, it had some dot, dot, dots. Got it.
Does that cover it, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Again, it started to blur.
Just say one thing about transfers. I'm not sure that I might be the only, I'm not sure I'm the only one, but I'm not sure I have the consensus of the entire septic committee that I'm not sure we need to have a time of transfer, frankly. If we're going to do inspections on all these properties and we're going to get inspections, which is, I hope is the case, and just deal with the compliance, people have to deal with that compliance, then why do we need them at time of transfer? Is it just one more? It would pick up a few earlier on, I suppose. It would get some of the transfers that happen from the implementation of the ordinance through the time that inspections would take over. But it's just one more layer to have to comply with and to deal with. And I'm not sure it's necessary. I guess I'd like you to kind of weigh in on that if you guys agree or disagree, or,
think-
eventually we get through. So
I think to your point, though, getting them earlier, if they haven't gone through the process, then that will be done so that it,
at time of transfer.
and
Last
require.
year,
require
there
done at
was
that time,
there was 100 transfers in Garrish Township roughly.
granted, but
And
know,
we're
if you
talking
had-
about doing thousands of them. it just doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense.
we haven't gotten to R2 or whatever, and then there's a transfer of property, then that would grab them, at that point.
Yeah.
I think
Leaving it in isn't, yeah, there's no cost to it.
Right.
There's some political baggage to it, which
Okay.
was maybe more my concern, is that there always has been. I don't know if there's there now or not. I haven't really heard much about it, but there's always been a pushback from, an interest group that doesn't want time of transfer. And if we're only doing it as another layer that's going to get caught up anyway, do we really want to go down there?
Do we want to force an inspection, or do we want to just revise this such that that you're saying that certification is available and a valid certification? And that way that if, let's say, 6 months ago, I had my system inspected and certified,
Mhm.
and now I'm selling, do I have to have another inspection? This says yes. Okay, is that
Yeah.
really necessary? Should we
No,
say?
I say that's not necessary. So yeah, right.
Shouldn't it be that they have to provide a valid certificate that says that they've been inspected
And what-
recently?
And what's recently?
Yeah,
That's the
and
question,
what does
right?
recently
What's the
mean?
time
Exactly.
frame on that?
Within some time frame.
Right.
Exactly.
okay, anything else?
I think that's a good idea. We'll get that and leave the issue in there and let it ride. And if it stays, fine. If it turns out that there's others that feel you guys
Roadblock,
change.
Then,
yeah,
right, they
we
can
could-
discuss it at that time. Section 11 for me. This is the private water supply testing. And I was just, doing some reading of other septics in different states and things like that. And some of them spell out like corrective actions at that point. And maybe that's not necessary, but this is saying you're going to get tested. Do we get involved at all in? Or is that too far to talk about disinfection or treatment of the problem? Maybe I'm
So it identifies the inspection, but doesn't have any direction
recommended
for
actions.
mediation or remediation. Okay.
Might not be important. I don't know. I was just,
We're under section 11. The owner must report any positive E. coli or nitrates over time within 72 hours under part B.
Right. But what's the corrective action if you have a problem?
or is that not a part of any of this?
No,
It's just,
yeah, that's right. You're right. Well, the under 12, you're coming to
of
remediation.
non-compliance action. It's like it feels like there's a gap there of non-compliance action. I don't know.
True. See your point, June? Okay, anything else?
Just a second. Just gonna make a note to be sure that there's consistency between the testing and compliance.
I mean, do people know what to do if they are not in compliance? Remediation of non-compliance action.
Who's going to tell them it's not compliant? Is that what you're?
And how do they
fix it?
fix it?
Mhm.
What are there remediation options? Any temporary measures, or is there a timeline, or there are extensions?
I think our intention was to get the well tested and get the data to the health department and then let them deal with it on their end. We don't have any way to enforce it here. They want to enforce it. So our job is to get it to them and then let them deal with it, because we don't have a way of dealing with it, and I don't see us putting
And
together.
our building code doesn't even mention it, I don't believe.
No, we don't have anybody, the building inspector is not qualified to
Right.
analyze or to remediate it. So it's got to be to the health department that does it. But we want to be sure that as a part of our ordinance, we're we're getting them to,
Shouldn't we say
get
something like
tested.
that, though?
I think so. I think
Turning
this
the
is, but this is,
records will be turned over to the health department for their enforcement or their recommendation or whatever.
Seems like there's a section 11.2 in there of helping the homeowner understand the process. I mean, we as a township would hand it over to the health department. But is there any way for that? Does the health department then walk them through how to resolve this? And maybe that is, and but as a homeowner myself, I wonder, okay, so if I've tested and I find this ordinance immediately jumps to non-compliance action.
Right.
How do I know what to do in between? Is it on me then to reach out to the county, or are they, the health department, going to push to me?
okay.
I mean, I want to make sure that anybody who owns property here, owns a home, understands what's next.
Okay.
And that would include, if they're defining remediation, or if there's any temporary measures that can be put in place to, bridge the gap between a small action, putting filters on all of your, whatever the pollutant is or whatever, to putting in a whole new septic system.
I think in
And-
my mind, it was, we asked that it be tested, and then the health department goes, okay, we'll take it from here. So the ordinance, you're probably right. It should have some more direction in there as to how that process actually works and what's expected of
the health department, what people can know that they're turning to them for, because too often, we all know this has happened to each of us. You get stuck in that loop. Who do I call? Who do I get the answer
Well,
from?
Part D kind of under 11's sort of addresses that, maintains records of all test results and notifies the township of area-wide concerns.
Right, but it doesn't say, so then do this.
And-
Or
or-
what can you expect to do this?
Yeah.
It jumps
Or
immediately.
we will take care of such and such.
Right.
Yeah, the
Or
CMD.
you are
Reach out here.
responsible for such and such.
Reach out here for guidance. Here's best practices. Here's, resources, or, and I know those would change over time, so that might not be a part of the ordinance,
Well,
but saying,
And
So D-
section 12 kind of addresses that, though.
good, tell me how.
Noncompliance must be remediated and approved within 6 months of owner notification unless extension is granted by the health department due to circumstances such as weather. And then if standards are not met under C, owners are required to obtain a variance for pump and haul services as directed by the.
Everybody wants that pump and haul. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
if they're non-compliant, I think
Right.
if they're non-compliant, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think.
And that
Right.
would be
The
the health
noncompliance.
department who would determine that.
Yeah. And if they're compliant, I think all's good. So what lies in the middle of,
11 to 12 is the health department.
Possibly C and D, maintains records of all test results, notifies owner of X, Y, and Z options, and notifies township of area.
I've got a note here to expand on what's required or expected of the owner
And the health department.
and the health department.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's-
a gap there.
12C only handles the septic system. Doesn't handle the well.
Right.
There you go.
Okay. Next.
Let's see. Real quick in 15, section 15, and I might have missed it. Who grants variances? So the
15?
15, section 15.
The, well, our septic committee has a difference of opinion on how to deal with with variances. And I'm not sure we've made a lot of progress in the last couple of months about exactly which way we're going, which way we would suggest. I think there are other people to weigh in on it, you folks and the township board and the planning commission, as to how to deal with variances. There's a strong opinion on the septic committee that variances aren't allowed. You must comply 100% with the health department's health code. And therefore, if you are at 95%, you need to come up with a plan to get to 100. Currently, the health department says if you're at 50%, we're going to let you go. We're going to let you, you're going to be okay. We're not going to ask for, we'll give you a variance down to 50% of the health code. And there's a too big of a gap in there for what we want to do. So someplace in the middle is the answer. I don't see how we can enforce how there's going to be systems that have been in for a long time. And, as an example, well, to take it a couple of steps. One example is there's been a family of 6 living at a house, and now the kids are all gone. Now there's a family of 2, still got the same septic system. And that septic drain field is at 90% of the required amount. Well, per this ordinance, these two folks are going to have to come in and upgrade their drain field system. And by the way, it doesn't sound like you can extend or expand on a drain field. You need to take out that drain field and put in a new one. The health department won't allow you to expand it. And that causes a real hardship, I think. Well, now the argument is, well, okay, that's fine. But if that house will hold 8 people, then mom and dad are going to sell it. There's going to be 8 people in there. And so at some point it needs to comply with that too. Once again, somewhere in the middle is the answer. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
We're going to need to wind this section up so that I can get Catherine on. She has
Okay.
some other meetings and so on. But would it be okay to have her attend tomorrow?
Sure, absolutely.
Are you in town tomorrow?
No,
No. Okay.
but I can get together with after the meeting or whatever and go through the rest of your notes and capture those, and then I'll go ahead and put these notes in so you can see them. We'll put that as a revision 6.2 or whatever it is we're up to next, and I'll get that back to
June, are there any other, critical ones that you want?
We're okay.
We're okay? Sure?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anybody else in regard to septic? Okay.
Good.
Very good. All right. Next up is Catherine. And Catherine, can you hear us?
Yep, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. For those of you who don't know me, my family has a place in Lyon Township, and I'm a volunteer on the Health of Higgins Lake Finance Committee. And professionally, I'm a grants consultant. So I help nonprofits of all sizes and types get grant funding from public and private sources. So I've been asked to help do that for Health of Higgins Lake also. And so today I thought I'd talk about what we've been working on and give a little bit of an overview of the grants landscape and how everyone can help, from people on the steering committee to community members to the subcommittees. Does that sound about like what you were thinking you wanted me to talk about, Jenny?
Yes.
Is there anything
We
specific?
already had one question this morning as far as how to assist the septic ordinance implementation. So from a financial standpoint, but that's just one of many, I'm sure, that are out there. So
Okay,
anybody else
yeah,
have
I can
any?
talk about that.
Okay, all right, very good.
Just as far as what we've been working on, and the head of the finance committee, Ed, is here, and feel free to jump in, Ed. We've already submitted one proposal for funding to Eagle, and we should know about that in the summer, whether we got that funding or not. And we worked very closely with the staff members there to make sure that the proposal, we made changes that they suggested to make that proposal as compelling as possible and increase our chances for getting that funded. Um, we're also developing a list of potential grant opportunities and a calendar of those grant deadlines. I don't know how familiar everyone is with the grant seeking process, but some funders have rolling deadlines. You can submit applications anytime. Some funders have one deadline during a year or maybe every few years. And so once you've decided that, that this, a particular funder might be a great opportunity, a good fit, you want to make sure that you get that in some sort of calendar so that then you don't miss the deadline and have to wait an entire other year for funding. So we're working on putting together that calendar and identifying grant possibilities. I have a bunch of grant research databases that I use to do that, and so I'll use all of those. The other thing we're doing is putting together a list of potential partners who we could let them, who might be interested in the work of Health of Higgins Lake, and who share that interest, and who might be able to collaborate and like lend their expertise and maybe some resources. Because, in that way, we might be able to bring some resources to our work, that is in addition to actual dollars that we could get through grant funding. We're also putting together a donate button and working with the finance committee so that individuals could contribute to helping a work that we're doing. And, not just individuals who live here, but, potentially all people who use and enjoy the lake. One of the reasons for that is some people think about grants that, you can just apply and they're these big pots of money out there. And in reality, it's extremely competitive to get grants. It's it can be very difficult, and it can take several years to build up a good grants program. It takes some time. And most nonprofits get the bulk of their funding from individuals and fees that they charge. Only about 25% comes from grants. So they're a very important component, but you also have to look at other sources of funding. One of the challenges right now in the grants world is all of the cuts at the federal level. A few years ago, there was a big infrastructure bill, and there was a lot of money available for infrastructure projects. That money's pretty much gone now, and there are a lot of additional cuts at the federal level, and state and local governments also get a lot of the money that they give out from federal sources. So that's one challenge now, and so people are increasingly turning to private sources, especially because the stock market's been good. So a lot of those private sources have a lot of money right now. So to be successful, grant seeking is always a team effort. It takes everyone working together, because one of the best ways that you can position yourself for grant success is to have a relationship with whoever you're seeking funding from. And so that's a way that all of us can help to think about who do I know who might be interested in the work and interested in supporting the work of the Health of Higgins Lake organization. And, can I make an introduction? Can I tell them about the work? Does my employer have a grant program? Do I know someone with a family foundation that gives out grants? All of us have those connections that, we might be able to bring to the grant process here. And I would just like to say that, as we're putting together this list of potential grant opportunities and potential partners, if anyone wants to make any suggestions to me, I'd love to hear them. You can reach out to Jenny or Ed or me. My email is birchwood113@gmail.com. And I'd love to hear any suggestions. The other way that everyone can help, and this is aimed at all the committees that are working on projects, is to think about what do you need funding for. And you really need to look far in advance, say like a year out, because in order to create a successful grant application, the project has to be clearly defined, including goals, objectives, a timeline, who's going to work on it, and most importantly, the budget. And when you're creating the budget, then you really have to know some details about what you're going to do. And I also need to know that information to look for funding, because once I know what kind of projects people are thinking of doing, then I can look for grant opportunities that match that project. And vice versa, we're planning on sharing some of the funding possibilities that we find. So then the subcommittees can, start to think about what they might want to do that might match some of that available funding. As far as funding for the septic activities around the septic ordinance, was that the question, Jenny?
To possibly help to defray the costs of inspections and remediation, or ideas how the township could be of help.
Do you mean to defray costs that the township is going to incur, or that residents might incur?
The residents
both?
mainly, but Don?
Yeah, the residents mostly.
Yeah, so in the Eagle grant, part of what we how we defined that project, and part of what we were asking for funding for, was to bring some resources to the township, because it's going to be a big project, all of that, getting all the information about the septics, the inspection process, and all that. So, but as far as the residents and getting some funding for the work that they may need to do, I know that there is a state program specifically designed for that. And that is something that the residents apply for directly, but we can definitely share information about that. And in addition to that, we could specifically define that as a project. Like, we would like to seek a grant for funding for like maybe some sort of fund to help people who are don't have the resources to pay for some of that to help them offset those costs. And in fact, that might be helpful because most grants are for um, say like special populations, particularly like low income groups, because governments and foundations don't want to spend their money for, to help people who don't need it. So if we define that need that way, that will help us present a more like compelling case for getting grant funding.
Yep. Jim, I think that's probably something that needs to be in your appendices. That information.
Okay. Anything else for Catherine? Or Catherine, do you have more that you'd like to add?
Oh, that's it for now, but I'm always available if anyone has follow-up questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just while I have you, I had mentioned to a couple other committee members, a possible partner, Michigan Sea Grant. I don't know if
Okay.
they made it. Michigan Sea Grant. It's a branch of NOAA, the Federal National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And any state that has coastal waters has a sea grant program. And you can go to their website and get in contact. Their whole mission and vision is that they want to support and be in partnerships with people and organizations that foster healthy waters. And they could
Okay,
be,
great.
yeah, they could be a resource for ideas for grants and also, sort of do letters of support.
Catherine, we've investigated this, and remember, we found out that it was coastal counties only.
Hmm.
Well, that they will
Yeah.
actually, that there are people, if you speak to their agents, they can be informative about, just because it's not around the perimeter of the mitten or the UP, there can be a lot of information available. And I know a number of the staff members, could be a wealth of resources.
So
Anything related to water within even the center. Yeah, they might not be able to, create a grant for us because we're not part of the Great Lakes coastal system.
but networking with them would be,
Networking. Yeah. So if it came to an end in the conversations, I'd like to be a part of helping to facilitate moving that maybe a little deeper with some of the connections.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, what I'm envisioning for this like sort of partner collaboration list is, what's the organization, who are the contacts there, what relationships might people here have already with those people, and like, what are the possibilities for, collaboration, working together. And then, it'll be kind of an organic process, depending on how those meetings go. And then we'll just have to decide, create sort of like an outreach strategy, like who are we going to prioritize, who's going to be the one to reach out to them, and then how are we going to share that information, that sort of thing. So it's sort of going to be a living document, I'm thinking.
okay.
So thank you.
Any other questions for Catherine? Any suggestions for Catherine? Zoom audience, any comments? Okay, very good.
All right.
If you'll look at thanks, June, very much. Next item is the administration section. Monthly reports. In the past, the subcommittee chairpersons are supposed to submit those by the end of each month. And then Jim had compiled them and forwarded them onto the steering committee and then onto the board. And I'm just wondering from subcommittee chairs, is that a workable process? Do we need to change anything? It seemed to go well this last month. But comments?
I guess my only comment is the lag, but I don't think there's anything that we can do about the lag.
The
So,
lag time? Right.
yeah, because by the time I am giving you my reports, we've moved on to other things and that information is stale.
Correct.
But I don't know what we can do anything about that. If not, I think the process itself, the workflow is fine. It's just the timing and that's why I put on all my reports, like the last report I put on January, February, and my next report will be February, March. For that simple reason, it's not
Right.
specifically for a month.
Okay. Question,
Yeah,
Jim?
I
Oh,
guess
go
I'm
ahead.
not, I mean, if you write it at the end of a month, it was that month. So the January report is written January 31st or whatever. There is a lag time for the steering committee to approve before it gets out to the public, but it's only a couple weeks. Well, it's more than a couple weeks, but yeah, I don't think there's anything we can do about it.
I don't know what we can do about it, but that's my only comment is
Yeah.
that the information is pretty old by the time you're seeing it.
At least
an archive of what went on in that month, so you can look back. Yeah, you're
I
right.
think the fact that all the information gets out is the important part. And at least at this point, nothing's terribly timely.
Any other comments about the monthly report? And how it's compiled, or, if you've reviewed it, and you have any comments about it, you can always contact me later. Okay? Action item reports. The various subcommittees are working on, like, for the examples, septic did the draft ordinance, and it's made that available to the steering committee, and we then will be taking a look at that next time to say yes, and pass it on to the board if everything is, ready for that avenue. Are other subcommittees working on reports? Where are the reports housed? And do we need to, if you look at the timeline that was established, we're pushing on the backside of the end, March-ish was the hope for most everything to be reviewed and compiled and published. So as far as the action reports, how can the steering committee help subcommittees? What's working, not working? And I know
Are
Brad,
you talking about workflow? I mean, the workflow is working. I mean, we have the monthly reports folder, and then we have a folder for every month.
no, I'm talking about the actual, like the steering committee compiled theirs into a draft ordinance. Science committee, they've gotten everything into database done. There's certain committee subgroups that are working on certain tasks, and they will have individual reports on aquatic invasive species or whatever they're finding in that arena. Once the work is done, road ends, what do we need to do to get that report finalized and forwarded? And in that process, should it be reviewed by other subcommittees? Just like I greatly appreciate June's eyes, fresh eyes on the ordinance. So getting to the deadlines or getting to the finish line with the research that each one is doing, getting the physical report compiled for review by other subcommittees, review by the steering committee. How can we get?
Jenny, I see that Brad's not here, but
Yeah.
my
We had it-
understanding Yeah, my understanding of the science committee is that once a sub, like invasive species, has something to put forward, it will go to the entire science committee for review before it moves forward to the steering committee. So at least the full science committee would be, have reviewed and looked at it before it went to your committee, to the steering committee. Now we could, add a step in there that it would go to other subs before or at the same time it went to the steering committee. Which is an option.
I know, and Brad apologizes for not being here today. He had a little dilemma. So it had to be addressed this morning. So anyways,
So part of the thought there though was to not necessarily report that up the chain until the final conclusions were made from the sub, and then the science committee had the ability to agree with the sub, or say to the sub, go back and do a little more research. So making that information available to the steering committee it's a work in progress, so it
Sure.
would be inappropriate.
no, correct. I agree.
But I think the question is that once the science committee agrees and they're ready to send it to the steering committee, should they also send it to the other subcommittees, like the septic and the roads and whatever, so that everybody gets a chance as well as the steering committee?
That's going to become cumbersome, I believe.
It's an option.
It is an option, but the thing is it might be cumbersome, but it might be necessary in some cases, especially for IT, because IT gets its tentacles into septic, communications, science. I mean, so I'll give you an example, and not to pick on you, Jenny, but I had no idea that you were off the communications committee when you took your current role. And so there was never communicated. So I was sending you emails thinking that you were still dealing with that. And so, yeah, there needs to be more communications between the subcommittees. I agree.
I know.
I also think
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that also, as I think about it more here, is the fact that sending it to the other subs when somebody has something ready to come out of their sub, sending it to the other ones is a really good litmus test before it goes public.
I agree.
Then we'll get the pushback from other people within us that would help us refine what we need to do.
Yeah, just from a point of review, that's a good idea. I know we've looped in the science committee from the road ends, talking about validating some of our assumptions, but that was during the process of developing our method. I would think that it'd be very helpful if some of the other subcommittees were able to review our report once it's ready to go.
Right.
And we can make revisions to that before we send it up to the steering committee.
And case in point, our agenda item 1 of a brief review of the septic ordinance today. Having had a chance to read it in its final form, and we put this meeting in place because I didn't feel like just voting on it at our third Tuesday meeting was enough. I thought maybe what would be helpful is a presentation of the septic ordinance, doing an overview or something along those lines. I know it's more cumbersome again, you're saying, but at the very least to have the opportunity to delve into these questions beforehand. Because if we, as a steering committee, simply receive, here's our finished product, what's our point? We're supposed to be able to, we want to trust, and we certainly do entrust the subcommittees. But for us to be able to say, yes, it's ready to move forward, I think we need to be able to have a little more granularity as it's developed and a chance to weigh in before it goes further forward.
I was using cumbersome to the point that maybe all the subcommittees don't want that.
Have enough to do.
Yeah, That's
Very
what
well.
I'm saying.
Yeah, but if we're just able to peek over their shoulders or pick their brain somewhere along the process instead of, I mean, I was not in any of the septic committees because that's not my purview. But, and the document is great, but I had questions, and this is the time to delve into those questions before it's already on the list to be forwarded.
Most assuredly, yes.
So should it be sent to the subcommittees before it arrives at the steering committee?
Or sent, is there a process to see what's happening? I mean, we have the monthly reports.
We don't have another, that was kind of part of the reason for this meeting today is that in the original purpose and scope, it was talking about collaboration. And obviously the Rodan and the science did collaborate in that process. And I'm sure you've had conversations with the science and so on, Jim, and various others. But to make that a little bit more
Part of the routine.
routine, that's the word I was. So I'm thinking that maybe the reports get fanned out to the subcommittees first. And then on to the steering committee once those eyes have looked at it, because that way it's still a working document and we haven't,
And
you know,
give
brought
the-
it
give
public.
the other subcommittees the opportunity
Okay.
to review.
I think what would make the most sense would be to have a quarterly meeting of the subcommittees
Yep.
and just the sub chairs. Quarterly
was-
meeting to know what's going on.
Yeah, that
With
was
each other.
kind of encouraged from the get-go, but
It was and it got dropped.
okay. So reports to subcommittees, quarterly meetings for subcommittees,
Chairs.
chairs. Yeah.
Yeah, chairs.
Jim, thoughts?
I would only like to add in that from the perspective of the township board, I guess, we've been a year now working on this and there has been an incredible amount of work done and things are coming along really good. But we do need to have some milestones as we go along that are sort of a cumulative milestone about what everybody's working on and what the accomplishments are. The road folks have got a whole bunch of stuff done and that's great, but we've got to see that. We've got to see what that is and how that fits into the overall, you know, big scheme of things. The septic committee now has the first draft of one out there. The science committee has got a whole bunch of stuff in the works. And I think we just need to have it would be good from the township board's perspective to have some kind of a document that sort of assembles where we are after, 12 months into this and maybe on 6-month intervals or something like that. We have an interim report that gets assembled and says, here's how we're doing. So, and I'm sure the communications committee would love to have something like that so they can toot our horn a little bit at to the general public about what's going on. So
So you're talking about where their specific action reports are at, because we already have a monthly report.
Yeah.
Of
yeah, the monthly report that you've been working on for the last month, that's great. That's good to know.
Right.
But the fact that there's the septic committee, there is that milestone of a draft has been submitted and, I am not the least bit concerned about the work that's being done and the progress that is going and the speed at which it's going. I think it's incredible. But if you don't tell somebody about it, there's going to be people you're going to start to talk to them about how come we're not seeing anything that you're doing. So that's all I'm getting at. So.
And I would also add, I agree with you on that. When it would benefit me from this perspective, the chair that I'm sitting in, when there is a milestone that's coming up, this septic, for example, a presentation that walks us through, because that helps us, because I'm reading it, but I'm coming in blind. I don't know any of the background and I don't have an opportunity to ask questions other than this opportunity we carved out right now. But if there's a presentation of, and there's committee members who are talking us through it, 6 or 7 minutes. Here's how it went. Here's what are the key points, and we already had a chance to read this. I've seen it. I've heard it. I can ask questions. And that presentation can be shared by the communication committee, can be, and then we act upon that. So when we have our road ends, I've not sat in on all those rodents. I don't know all the permutations in the background and the this and the that. But if we've got Tim and we've got Don and they're up here and they're just zipping through a couple of slides, and then I can ask questions. And then they can go back and act on those questions that we as a steering committee are supposed to be asking. Then they present it to the township.
Hand it off after
Right.
that presentation.
There has to be that multiple voices.
Anybody else on Zoom? Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the action reports, as they develop, have those reviewed by other subcommittee chairpersons. Hopefully have quarterly subcommittee chair meetings to compare notes of the progress and what reports are in the works, etc. Before that it goes to the steering committee, at the time it goes to the steering committee to have a presentation and somewhere in this mix, a report on the action or progress report on action that could be passed up to the board for a report card.
I mean, it might not even be from a specific subcommittee. And the example I'll use would be Zotero was a highly collaborative effort between IT, science, and communications. So, it's not necessarily just one subcommittee at a time.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, global milestone.
Okay.
Jenny, you could even have that, once the presentation was sort of finalized, the presentation could be at the regular steering committee. I mean, we could have done a nice Zotero presentation to the steering committee once it was in place, and that would have been informative.
I was kind of expecting that when it was time for subcommittee,
Somebody to come with the reports, you're saying. Yeah.
correct. But now
Good
we'll
idea.
make it a little more formalized
Yeah.
and communicated. Thanks.
Well, it was in all the IT reports and the science reports, but we
Right.
didn't do a formal presentation. No.
Which
But a presentation to the steering committee and anybody else in the public,
yeah.
it would have made it clear, it would have made what it was doing, how it worked, blah, blah, blah. I think
Yeah,
that would have
no.
been a really good idea.
And it
We
would
can
have
still
been-
do that.
We still can. And it would speak to what Jim was talking about in terms of demonstrating something that we've gotten done.
I like it.
Because it's not an insignificant accomplishment. It's the first time all the documentation has been put into one repository.
So Jim did present at the last steering committee. So do you have anything else you would want to present at the next steering committee, Jim? Or are you good?
I'm just sitting here thinking that whatever I presented at the last steering committee meeting was pretty brief. I mean, it was kind of like, here you go. Handed it off to,
And we were going to read it. And
yeah, it went over, but I think it makes perfect sense that
Do
after spending 10 months working on it, I should have spent 20 minutes telling you what's in it.
Okay.
And that would have made more sense. So you should probably ask for a presentation, a PowerPoint or just handout paper, whatever that can go through the highlights of what it is that you're looking at. Then take it away and review it. And then you can decide what to do with it from there. I think that makes perfect sense.
we ask questions, then you have time to,
Yeah.
if your questions were ahead of time,
Yeah.
that would have helped
Well,
streamline.
you might not even have those questions ahead of time. It's the first time you see it is the first time I stand up here and talk about it, and then take that away, and then still come back with questions, a dialogue back and forth.
Okay.
I appreciate that Jenny pulled this workshop essentially
Mhm.
together. And I don't think it has to be scheduled at a particular cadence. I think it can be what happened, oh, well, we know you're out of town then. He's out. What's the best time as we get close and as we need it? But being able to sit down and dialogue about this is is not going to happen at 7 PM on the third Tuesday.
So
Do you think these presentations should be made to the steering committee and then the reports disseminated back to the other subcommittees for their review? Would that, I mean, is that as far as the timeline is concerned, or is that, should your report go to the other subcommittees first, then you make your presentation to us, we talk about it?
I can
And
see it both ways, but
I can't
the purpose of having go first to the subcommittees is that it's not
It's
a,
reviewed.
a public document yet. And so
Well, until it's submitted.
to the steering
Is
committee.
the submission at the same time as the presentation? I guess are you saying that we need a presentation and then review? Or are we saying that once the presentation is made, the review's been done already? And this is the.
Not by
formal
us.
submission?
Good question. No, I see what you're saying. You got the cart and the horse and the
Yeah,
horse and the cart.
Yeah,
and-
yeah. Which one?
How many times do you have to see it or who gets to see it? And to me, what makes sense is you share amongst your subcommittees. And I really appreciate the fact that the subcommittees are meeting right after this and they're having conversations amongst themselves. When something major is coming through the septic, I think presenting to this, maybe making sure that we have proper information and our body right here has a chance to hear directly. That's public record because it's all of us sitting here. And then we still get a chance to think it through. And I don't know when you get a chance to ask more questions, although it would have been great. I had a chance to read the septic. Had it been presented, I would have probably been able to hear more about it. And some of my questions might have already been answered during that presentation. And then I ask more questions. Then we can approve it at the official meeting.
So I'm wondering, Ed, could we kind of do another quarterly dovetail work session like this? So hopefully that would catch up answer the loose ends. And
Well, that's a procedural question. I mean, whether we present to the whole steering committee, then at that point, it's public record, is my understanding. This meeting that we're having right now is public record.
right. I know.
But it's a work in progress, public record.
So if, you know,
Submission of the report.
I think the advantage of the steering committee looking at it first and having questions like you had today gives that committee or whatever committee a chance to review what you take with you and come up with some recommendations. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
Might as well just stay there.
I thought on it behind, as we talked about it on the septic committee, and sort of my mindset was that our draft, and it is definitely a draft, gets submitted for your review and comment, and either you're okay with it and good enough to send it to the township board and let it continue on, or I think in your case, the questions that you had, they should be addressed before you send it up. Those are pretty specific questions that can be addressed. But the overall general feel of it from our perspective needs to move on until the next level right here. And then you do the same thing. You move it out of the township board and they will put whatever review they're going to do to it to start with. And then goes to the planning commission, and the planning commission will spend a lot more time with it. And I think they'll work through, I picture they're going to work through a lot of the details and the nuances and the wordsmithing and catch the same things that you're seeing here too. So all these different points along the way give us an opportunity to put together a better document as we go along for all of them. So I think what I'm saying is from our perspective, we saw this as simply the very first step of this draft, and there's going to be a lot more thought in as time goes on. But I also believe, like we said, to have the sub chair or the committee chair sit up here and explain to you what's in that in 5 minutes so that you get a feel for it, then take it away and review it. I think that makes that makes good sense.
And I would say more than 5 minutes. This is why I really appreciate being able to come here on a morning, roll up our sleeves here before, not on everything that's being worked on, but when you're bringing forward a major milestone project,
Mhm.
I think we need more than just, here's the papers and come and rubber stamp. I'm not a rubber stamp kind of person. I want to be able to know that I'm doing this job, and we all do. Want to make sure that we are being responsible in, having those extra set of eyes and, and stand behind what's there. And it's not because we don't trust any committee. It's because we haven't sat in on all those meetings, and we want to read and hear from.
It is iterative.
Okay, so again, check me if I got off track here. First, have it be sent, any action report sent to the other subcommittee chairpersons. And I think like what Jim did by sending it to us at the same time, but maybe you just send it to me. Okay, and, or any subgroup. And then we meet quarterly, like Ed suggested, once, we've got various action reports. And explore them and deeply, like what June was talking about. Once that happens, then they take them back, tweak them, and then they are then actually presented, a formal presentation at the steering committee. So we've got subcommittees and myself getting action reports. We do a quarterly so that the subcommittee can present it there and tweak it there. I'll compile a action brief report card report that could be passed on to the board. But then after that quarterly, there's when then the Zotero or whatever would be presented to the steering committee to move subcommittee chairs.
And that will be a
I-
work session.
Work session.
Yeah, I just, my first thought is that, if you're waiting for a quarterly meeting, it's already pretty slow, even at a monthly meeting to get, but when you worked on it for a year and what's, putting it at a
Right.
quarterly meeting probably makes sense, but
Or
As needed.
as
as
needed.
needed, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of what you did with this meeting even, so, yeah.
Okay. How does that sound, Ed?
My concern is that there'll be not enough interaction and too much interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, we may be creating a devil here. But
Yeah,
one
but
thing that I'm firmly believing in is that the subcommittees need to have more interaction with each other.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll kind of
So-
ponder this and keep going, but we do need to move on the agenda. That's okay with everybody?
A work in progress,
A
yeah.
work in progress. Okay? Okay. We talked a little bit about the timelines, and I've asked the subcommittee chairs to take a look at theirs. And I guess at this time, I was hoping that we could tweak it, but it looks like we're kind of pushing our limits here as far as time. So if you look at your specific component on the timeline, especially when it comes to oh, what's it called? Ongoing administration of plan. They're all mixed in with the different
What page?
they're all mixed in. That comment is mixed in with each and every subgroup. So like under communication outreach, there's ongoing administration plan, and July 1626 is kind of like the tentative, but just take a look at your own section. And if you would, Sue, are you still on?
I am.
Or
I'm here.
Jim, who has the rights to this document?
Jim.
Jim? Okay. Can I either get permission to tweak it or have,
It's in Microsoft Project, and so I'm probably gonna end up having to do it. I'd say. It's in Microsoft Project, of which I'm the only one with a copy of that around here, I'm sure. So that's how it gets presented. So if you want to just redline it and get it to me, I'd be glad to make the changes for you. I mean, that's kind of cumbersome, but at the same time,
okay,
I'm not
Yes.
sure how else you're going to do it unless you want to switch to something besides project, you know.
okay, master.
Part of my problem with the timeline is what was envisioned there at the start is really not germane to that which we are doing. So from my perspective, for at least the IT committee, that needs to be redone, and it certainly needs to be reworked as
Okay.
far as the funding committee.
Okay, if you would send your thoughts to Jim, whether you scribble on a chart or you know,
Well, I actually have a way I have a way to update or to make stuff that Jim can import into Microsoft projects, so I can do
Well,
that way.
okay. I'll let you and Jim,
I've dealt with in a previous life this project kind of stuff, and it is all consuming if you're not careful.
I
You-
have too. Yeah, no.
If you don't
I
keep
don't
it at a very
disagree.
high level with milestones and the real specific stuff you're working on, nobody's going to look at it, and it takes somebody full time to with the care and feeding of it. So Ed, I'll be glad to put in your entry, but if you of all people should know that you don't get too
I
carried away
do.
with it.
Jim, I do. I've seen
Yeah, I know.
projects fail. I've seen projects fail because they tried to keep such fine-tuned timelines.
Yeah.
You know, they should be at a macro level at best. You know, yes, we got from IT perspective, we got a server ready. Yes, we got database sharing going. Yes, we have a way for the science subcommittee to search things. Yes, you know, very, very high level things. If
Okay.
we try to take and put everything in there that we're working on that takes time, we will spend all of our time doing that and not getting done what we need to be
Don't
getting
want
done.
that.
all right, well, we need to move on from this one, but if each of the various subgroups would reach out to Jim with any updates that you want to define within yours. And we're going to continue using what you have started, Jim.
Okay.
I'm
Just email me in whatever form you want, and I will edit this to
okay.
reflect those changes.
I'm looking
You
for
keep
the
it-
copy. What was the latest date on the email that you sent that out? Jenny, do you know?
Yesterday, I guess.
No, it wasn't with that. Okay, I'll look for it. I'll find it.
That, okay. And then committee membership. Anybody have any issues with needing new membership?
The communications committee, after they cried for losing you, Jenny, we were able to acquire 2 new members. So we're very happy that people have stepped forward.
Okay, Com has 2. We're going to have 1, Jim Fisher. Should be joining us.
Which Jim?
Jim Fisher.
So Jenny, I'd like you to be on
Ours.
IT temporarily so that I can get 2 more people on IT.
I'm sorry, say again?
I'd like you to be on IT temporarily, so then you can leave, and so we get 2 more people on IT. I mean, I would dearly love to have more people on IT, but the qualifications, I guess, are more fine-tuned,
Okay.
as Don well knows.
Absolutely.
Anybody else committee membership needs? Done, science? Good, okay. And then down to the review, how are we doing? I think we've hashed out some things that, needed to be, but are there other areas that need to be addressed? Are we reaching our goals, or are we getting off track? Do we have anything that hasn't been addressed within our subgroups? One of the areas I keep leaning towards is that environmental legislation, trying to keep track of that. And I know that our local organizations and other individuals have their finger on those pulses, but are we tracking that type of information within our subgroups? Do we need more input? It's kind of like funding. It's a, big animal. And I don't know if there are other areas that need to be tweaked.
I guess my concern is that the other organizations that are tracking legislation or political issues have their own agendas. And so they are leaning, I mean, no, I don't want to say leaning. They're looking at it from their own perspective. This group should be, I want to say apolitical. I don't know that that's really the right term, but I think we need to be a little more neutral in what we're looking at based on
Okay.
our.
And how do we do that? Is that the steering committee's responsibility? Might be something that we take on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, Don, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but that being said, without the kind of collaboration that Catherine was talking about with other foundations and property owners and the rest, for instance, a watershed plan needs to be done for the watershed of Higgins Lake. That's not going to be able to be done. That's a very complex thing, and it's not going to be able to be done by HOHL alone. We're going to need to partner with people.
And I understand.
And where that runs back to is we need to have a watershed plan to be able to get 319 money. So divorcing ourselves from other organizations, I don't think is a practical thing.
I don't think I'm proposing that we divorce ourselves. I just think we need to
Also do our own.
color it in our own way. Okay, we certainly can go to the Higgins Lake Foundation to get whatever information they have, or from the Property Owners Association to get their information. But I think it needs to be presented without the political baggage that goes along with those.
Well, I'm not just talking about information, though. I'm talking about partnering with Huron Pines. I mean, there are going to be things that need to be a collaborative effort that we're going to have to take and join arms with these people and not just use their information.
How would we try to, Don, I agree that I think the steering committee needs to take on, I think, the federal legislation and state and local, as well as somehow, like you say, Ed, collaborate. But what would that look like? How would we make that possible without, there's could be other organizations out there that we're not aware of. I don't want to step on other toes. If we do have a presentation, let's say by a certain association, maybe we have, y'all come, sign up for your steering committee meeting to speak or to a work session or something. But, maintain our autonomy as well at the same time.
I guess, I don't know. From my perspective, we're all in this together.
Correct.
And
I-
so.
I think we need some autonomy. We need to be doing our own thing.
Yeah,
There's
Well,
too much.
that's not what I'm
too much-
saying. That's not what I'm saying.
I don't want
All
to
right.
push back.
Well, there's a
from-
lot of political baggage involved with those other organizations, and I don't think we need to take that on.
Well,
But
Jim knows what I'm talking about with the watershed plan, and specifically, it's a very complex thing that needs to be done by multiple organizations if we want to get it done.
And who's responsible for that? The township? or something else? Who's responsible for the watershed plan?
I think Huron Pines might have been the primary,
Yeah, Huron
Oh.
Pines or the foundation, one of the two drove it last time.
but that document's about 3 inches thick, and it's cost tens of thousands of dollars to update it. It cost $100,000 to build it in the first place, and it's going to take money going forward. And we talked about it about 6 months ago, was to kind of keep it on the radar for next summer to sort of take another look at it. But I think, Ed, it might not be as dire as you mentioned, because I'm pretty sure I heard that, yeah, that plan is still in place, and it
It's expired.
qualifies.
It's
Huh?
it's over 10 years old.
Yeah,
You can't.
but the fact that it's there and it's still well done is recognized by those folks that are giving out money for now, but that will go away. It's going to have to be addressed. I don't disagree, but for right now, I'm not sure we're in that much trouble.
Okay, well, funding has done some investigation and they don't necessarily agree with that opinion.
Okay. Okay. No,
Okay.
there you have it. So
All right.
I'd get it on.
I'm gonna kind of move back a little bit. Subcommittee, progress setbacks, anything for the good of the order? What do you need from the steering committee? Okay.
I'll start.
Oh,
The
yeah.
septic committee is, we'll make these changes. I appreciate the input from it for sure. And, but we have a meeting tomorrow, and we're going to continue to look at policy. I think we're going to have some discussions around some of the stuff we've already done. We're meeting with the health department um, to show them how the information they've provided us last week with the condition of septic tanks, et cetera, throughout the township, and how that melds in with the data we've already put together, and then how that also melds in with the information we've got from Well Logic, which is the water wells within the township, and how all that comes together, and try to get a perspective about what is the condition of the information that we've got, and more importantly, what's the condition of all the septics that we've got, and what conclusions can we draw, and how does that affect the overall implementation of the septic ordinance? Having said that, it sounds like I might be saying we've got the cart in front of the horse a little bit, which I don't think we do, but nevertheless, there's still analysis that can be done with the information we're just now starting to get our arms around, and how that affects what the eventual ordinance is going to look like. And that information is going to have to get disseminated back to you, and you're liable to have taken the information you've got in front of you right now, and 2 months from now, when I come back to your next meeting and you've already sent this on, I'm going to say, oh yeah, by the way, I think this is a major change we should do. So how we're going to deal with that, I don't know, but we're not going to just simply say, if we find more information that there's a better way to skin this cat, then that's what I think we should do, not just march forward with this first draft that we had. So kind of be ready that, I don't know, I don't know what will come of it, but it is an iterative process, and it's done by committee, fortunately, and we have a lot of input from a lot of good people, and it's not just one person doing it. And so it's going to take some.
I don't see any harm with, if you come back in 2 months and you've got monumental changes, that we can't do the same, as far as
Yeah.
review, pass it up, and the planning commission's gonna end up marrying everything together.
Yes, and you would then make a submission to the board, or right directly to the planning commission, maybe at that point, just say, well, by the way, these are other things that we've come up with, and you really ought to consider them. So
Okay. So
that's about it from us.
that would be one of the setback
Yeah,
tweaks that we need.
tweaks, I think is
Anybody else, any other subcommittee that
edits.
experience some setbacks in any way, or have some great things to boast about?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that Septic is talking about, IT has been helping them. I guess I have a small frustration in that I don't think that the whole of HOHL has been using the Nextcloud and the things that have been set up, the infrastructure that's been set up. It would be nice to have more people using that. But other than that, I mean, we're moving forward. We're helping all subcommittees. And the same thing is true of funding. We're progressing slowly. We have a chicken and an egg situation with funding in terms of getting the rolling calendar out, and knowing what the other subcommittees need. We have dealt with some of that with the Eagle grant proposal. So, I mean, we're moving forward. One of the biggest things that I mentioned before was the Zotero database setup. And there are some kinks that need to be worked out. And the example that I have right now is I know that there are curating documents that need to be dealt with, but they haven't necessarily been dealt with. So there are, it's not all perfect, but we're doing well.
We're progressing. So I do have Septic and Zotero on for our next steering committee meeting. Okay. And any other subcommittee that wants to report on anything at this time, other than if you would rather just report at the steering committee meeting?
So you're talking the meeting on the 17th?
Yes, we have our regular meeting on the
Okay.
17th. So if you have anything outside of what this work session is about, and you just want to do your update, then feel free. Anybody?
Okay.
I'd just say the communications committee is always open to any ideas on how to get the word out more and better.
All right. And anything else for our agenda today?
I'm a little confused about the subcommittees and quarterlies.
Okay.
I recognize the fact that all the subcommittees move at different, and it takes a lot longer for some. The road end probably was maybe the fastest one, but some of the science subcommittees may be a lot longer. And to put us, to say they have to have a quarterly report, they might not be ready for a quarterly report,
I'm not, it wasn't
especially this time
about
of year.
the quarterly, they're doing a monthly report with all of the
Right.
progression. But what Jim was kind of alluding to was kind of giving a little bit of a report card on the activities and correct, and what the board.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I
If-
pictured like a dashboard for the HOHL that's got, the highlights that upgrade every quarter, maybe, not every month necessarily, but every quarter on a single page that, communications may be tweaked at the end and made it, look nice that here are the things here, here's the 3 or 4 things that Septic has done and here's what the road's done. And, things that are coming up, maybe, we got some stuff coming up this summer, that just a single page. I'm not sure that's exactly what you were talking about with regard to a quarterly meeting and a quarterly report. That would be,
I'm just thinking subcommittee maybe have something really good to share,
mhm,
and it's good to share it. And then the communications committee can.
mhm. Well,
So-
yeah, that's what
I have
the board's going to want to see. The township board's going to want to see is, they're way okay with what we're doing. They're 100% behind the work that, all you folks are doing. But I'd like to be able to say, okay, here's 1 year in and here's where we are and here's the stuff we're working on. We started out with, 40 members and there's 60 now, and there's, just a sort of a,
Yes, that's what the intention.
Yeah,
Collaboration.
right. But if something comes up for a committee ahead of time, I think it's important to get it out. That's my
Oh,
whole
yeah.
point. Yeah. Right.
Rises up.
I anticipate pretty soon, probably the road end will
Very soon.
very soon be done. And I think it's important to get that out.
Well,
You get it here.
As far as the data that we've collected, they will be reporting on that.
Mhm.
However, I mean, going forward, we're still talking to the
How to
road commission,
remediate it.
Yeah.
how do we go forward? Push them forward to do what we consider to be their
Remediation.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And, again, it's a work in progress. But the data that we've collected, that will be reported out as here's the condition of the road ends as of now. Right.
In relation to the quarterly meeting, March, anybody have a window that we can kind of nail down right now for the subcommittees chairs,
For us to meet like today.
subcommittee chairs?
As long as it's Zoom, I can attend. I will be away from Higgins Lake by the end of March.
Okay. What about the 9th of March,
That works. I could do that meeting in person.
9 a.m.?
Mornings are hard for me. I had to bow out of 2 meetings already this morning, and I've got
Okay.
another one at 11.
You gotta retire.
I had to start at 7.
Yeah. The evenings
Been
on
there, done
Monday,
that.
the evenings on Monday and Wednesday are firefighting. Jim?
I can
Okay.
find out.
I mean, I can do mid-afternoon, but I know that's hard
Okay.
for other people. So,
Monday, the 9th, 1 p.m. Jim's gonna go.
That works. That's fine.
Any other announcements, comments?
Where did it go?
What was that,
Hmm.
Sue?
Nothing. I put it in my calendar. It disappeared. Sorry.
so my computer just rebooted. What did we decide?
Jim's looking,
He's checking on availability.
1 p.m. on the.
The afternoon's available on the 9th.
Okay. So let's pencil it in for March 9th at 1 p.m. for the subcommittee collaboration.
That's basically what we're having today.
But just
Subcommittees.
subcommittees, or their designee, Don.
I'm not gonna be here in March.
Will that be with the steering committee also?
I'm sorry?
Will that be with the steering committee also?
No,
Okay.
I will be represented, but we will not have multiple members of that of the steering committee. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'd like to make motion, Jack.
So move.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your participation today.